Now let's see what's happening today. Now we see telecom operators in Nigeria have begun to roll out unified unstructured supplementary service data, USSD codes or short codes for customers. And this is happening half a decade after the Nigerian Communications Commission published a report advocating for the consolidation of short codes in Nigeria. To help us understand this, we're being joined by Gbenga Adebayo, Engineer Gbenga Adebayo, Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria. That's the chairman of Alton. Join us via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning.
So, talking about this USSD code unification, tell us exactly how this would work. What's wrong with having, multiple codes?
Thank you. From what we have seen, a number of our operating companies, the members of Alton, do have different short code for accessing different services. For example, for checking data balance, some operators use *77#, others use *242#, others use *2232#, and all of that. What this aims to do is to harmonize it, that you have one uniform code across all networks. So if you are having network A, network B, or network C, for example, for call recharge, going forward will be just *310#. For credit recharge, will be just *311#. And this should be common across all networks. We think it's more convenient for the users, and we also think that at the end of the day, it's easier to memorize, it's easier to utilize, and it's just according to international best practice that this codes be harmonized for now.
Is there any risk to having one code for all of these USSD transactions?
It's just the complexity of having so many codes for different providers. We operate one national network, all networks in one network. And we think that if it's the principle of all networks in one network, it should be just the one uniform code applicable across all operators. It's just for the ease of use and to minimize the complexity in usage of those short codes.
All right. So would that be enough time for customers to understand, start using the unified code? Is there any burden to the users with this whole process?
We have now obtained regulatory approval to see what we're going to do now is to begin to migrate gradually. We are setting May 17th as the deadline for migration, and commencement will probably be a few weeks after. So perhaps about the 1st of June or so, subject to concurrence of all our members. We expect that migration should commence. The good thing about it is that both the new code and the old code will run simultaneously for a period of 1 year. Before the old code will cease to exist. So there will be no loss of time, no loss of information, or no loss of access by any of the users.
So that means I can use one code regardless of whichever bank I bank with. I will have one code because I know the banks have different codes. The networks have the telephone networks have different codes. So I can just use one code for everything.
I must clarify that this is not for banking services, and that's very important to emphasize. This harmonization of codes is not for banking services, it's only for telecom services. For services such as a voicemail service, a call center service, checking of balance, credit recharge, data plan, data balance, NIM and SIM, SIM linking, and porting services. These are telecom services. They have nothing to do with banking services at all. And these are features that currently exist today. Users don't pay for this service at all, except for that provided by third parties, such as the one linking the name with the SIM with the SIM. Otherwise, all services are free, and this has nothing to do with banking services at all. These are only for basic telecommunications.
And definitely we'll be, watching to see how the process unfolds. But talking about banks now, I do remember last year there were issues with some payments, some backlog of payments by the banks that were supposed to be made to the USSD providers. How is that looking right now? Is there any headway with that?
There are discussions going on at high levels, and we are hoping that we will soon come to the end of this issue of debt owed to the operators by the banks. It's not yet resolved, but we're having high-level discussions. Regulators are now involved, and we hope that in no time this matter will be fully arrested. But we are still on it. Discussions are ongoing at highest level.
All right, let's look at the telecom sector, generally now. In 2022, how did you see subscriber growth in the sector and contribution to GDP?
Quite significant. I refer you to data provided by the regulator and by the Bureau of Statistics, but you can see from the numbers that telecom has become the most important, or one of the most important social support services, irrespective of what we do. You can see even when we're talking about the digital naira, the cashless economy is all dependent on telecom services. And that's why we consider our sector as being one of the most critical to economic growth. And we continue to seek the support of all the stakeholders in ensuring that we have the right atmosphere to operate as an industry.
And right now, the issue of cash, that's still weighing heavy on a lot of people at this time. We did get that circular by the central bank there to redesign the notes, and we still have that whole drama between the old notes and the new notes. How did that impact your industry?
We continue to support the banks and the financial sector. Around the clock, we provide support services for them. The transport access that we provide for them for reasons of other banking services are available at all times and at all places. And so the challenges that are being experienced by users many times comes from the end of from the banking services end. We are only carrier service to the banks, and under the current regime, we are doing all that we can to provide them with the required support to make life easy for Nigerians. But I think the banks need to do a bit more to make this possible. And I think also information is critical. It will appear that the banks are not giving enough information to the public as to where the problems lies in. And we think that they owe the public that explanation as to what exactly is going on, instead of leaving people to imagine that today is telecom services, tomorrow is the banks and all that. As an industry, we are providing all the required support for the banks. We will continue to do so to make life of citizens easier, but we are not in control of what happens at the end, at the banking end. In essence, we don't have any control over what happens when we transport subscribers to the banking service. And that's why we think that the banks have to do a bit more in getting things better, making things better for the public.
And obviously, it's been quite a challenging first quarter in 2023. What are you seeing for the telecom sector, contribution to GDP when the report comes out for GDP contribution? What are you seeing for the telecom sector?
We are positive. We are positive because there's also no doubt that the issue of the cashless naira has brought more traffic onto the telecom networks. There is more data traffic in particular. Also, we're talking about 3G, 5G. A number of our providers and members are now rolling out the 5G, which we think will improve also not just user experience, but also will improve subscriber uptake. So we think the numbers are looking up, and we continue to look up because of the critical role that we play in supporting the economy. But we are not yet there. Looking at all the challenges that the industry is facing, we think we need a lot more support as an industry to do things in better ways and to make life of the public better than what we currently get from the public. In particular, in terms of support for our infrastructure. Other things such as access to foreign exchange and the rest of them. And these are some of the problems that we face. We bring into the attention of the authorities, and we hope that in getting the right intervention in that regard, it will also help us in having a better operating environment.
And definitely, some of us already have the 5G on our phones at this time. But what are you seeing for deployment for the whole of 2023 from other providers that have not been able to deploy 5G yet?
Well, for us to have a robust national network, we all don't have to do 5G. Some will provide services on 3G, 4G, and others on 5G. But I think, like I said earlier, because we operate all networks in one network, we actually have one national network. And we think that the contribution of each member to this national network will improve subscriber uptake, will improve user experience, But we all have a duty to sustain what we have. And that's why we continue to say to public actors, do not consider telecom as fully built. It's a technology industry. We need to continue to grow capacity. We need to continue to grow in terms of user development. We need to continue to grow in terms of interface with other third-party providers and the rest of them. We think that with the way we are talking about now, the digital economy, the cashless economy, we think we'll have a more robust telecom sector, we'll have a more robust digital ecosystem, and we think that to a large extent this will improve our national economy, both in terms of GDP and also in terms of foreign direct investment.
I guess all hands have to be on deck for this transition to a cashless economy, but we also need to have a choice. You know, if you want to go cashless or you still want to use cash, so that we don't have this burden, you know, that we have right now. But we'll keep tracking the USSD code unification. What are your expectations, you know, at the end of rollout of this unified USSD codes?
We think the users will have better experience. Today, the numbers are quite complex. Sometimes people make mistakes because people use a SIM card from different service providers. And to recharge on one phone, you need one set of number, on another phone, you need another set of number. We think once the harmonization is done, it makes life easier and better for people. It will offer better user experience. And I think that we will be able to say we have standardized the protocol for USSD as an industry, and that's what we aim to do. We will provide enough information for the public. It will not impact on services. The migration process will not have any effect on anyone. There will be enough time for people to migrate. There will be enough time, enough information provided by our members. It's just to inform the public, and that's what we have done. And all of this is aimed at making life easier for subscribers and making user experience better on the national network.
Yeah, and definitely you don't have to go online to start looking for shortcodes for different carriers and all of that, which is which is good. All right, thank you so much, Engineer Gbenga Adebayo, Chairman, Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria. It was great having your perspective today. Thank you.
Thank you.